How about now? All right. Nothing like something like that to wake you right up, right? So good morning. Welcome, everyone. My name is Megan Gloss. I'm the features editor at the Telegraph Herald and editor of Her Magazine. And I am so delighted to welcome all of you here today for our 4th annual Salute to Women Awards. I often say that I think this is one of the best things that the Telegraph Herald does, and I mean that wholeheartedly. It's not only about supporting 4 individual women from our community, whether that's making that community more equitable, more innovative, more charitable, or healthy, but truly about all of you and your role in helping those women and women in general in the community to elevate and to make those contributions. So give yourselves a big round of applause. We also want to give a big shout out to our sponsors for this event today, TriTech and DoTrack Community Credit Union. And I do want to introduce a few key people from the Telegraph Herald, and I'll have you hold your applause till the end before I get through these folks. So Bob Woodward, our Vice President of Woodward Community Media and our publisher of the TH. Luke Rodham, our Advertising Manager. Amy Gilligan, our Executive Editor. Several account executives, Therese Lyson, Tricia Nelson, Wendy Vosberg, and Andy Kamens. Matt Conley, our Interactive Media and Database Director. Paul Karutsides and his staff. Paul is our multimedia specialist and the individual behind all of the wonderful videos you're going to see today. Kelsey Gingrich, our Human Resources Manager. Allie Chapman, our Human Resources Generalist. And Michelle London, our Features Reporter. And now you can applaud. I also want to give a very special shout out to Jody Dodd. Jody is the individual who is checking all of you in this morning. She's our events coordinator who orchestrates not only this event, but a lot of our Telegraph Herald events. So a big shout out to Jody as well for this. And with that, I would love to introduce you to our keynote speaker this morning, Erin Dragato. Erin is the Vice President of Development for the National Mississippi River Museum and Aquarium, and she's been in that role for over 3 years. She completed a master's degree in art education from the School of the Art Institute in Chicago in 2006, and a bachelor's degree in liberal arts from Pepperdine University in Malibu. As co-founder and executive director of the Chicago Teen Museum and executive director for the Chicago Council on Science and Technology, Erin has long experience with nonprofits. Before co-founding the Chicago Teen Museum, she was in education and outreach at the Adler Planetarium. She is well-versed in working with funding organizations and has contacts with leaders in the Chicagoland and Northeast Iowa nonprofit communities. Please help me in welcoming Erin Dragato.
Hi, everybody. Good morning. I'm going to put my face goggles on here because I'm getting old. In fact, it's 7 years, not 3. I'm sorry, I sent you an old bio, I think, that I've been at the River Museum. So thank you, Megan, and thank you all for being here this morning. Before I miss the chance, I want to say my own personal words of congratulations to the awardees. Mary Rose, Kelly, Judy, Clara, you all deserve the accolades you are receiving today, and I hope this gives you the boost you need to keep fighting the good fight. Thanks also to Telegraph Herald, DoTrack, TriTech, and the Diamond Joe, or Boyd Gaming, for hosting this breakfast and inviting me to be your keynote today. These types of acknowledgments are very important to women in our community, and it's also important to see businesses giving recognition, so thank you very much. As Megan said, my name is Erin Dragato, and in addition to all of my career attributes, I am also a native Kansan, an Army brat, a daughter, a mother, and a wife. But more often than not, I also at times assume the roles of Sherpa, nurse, taxi driver, cook, problem solver, therapist, educator, friend, and when I have time, an artist. Those are some of the words that I've used in recent past to describe myself. Here are some of the words that others have used to describe me: caring, intense, consistent, independent, creative, intimidating, funny, loving, knowledgeable, innovative, strategic, and my personal favorite, warrior. I tell you how others describe me, not in vain, but in privilege. I am privileged because this means people see me. They believe these things about me and are comfortable telling me them to my face, good, bad, or ugly. I find it interesting that in these list of words, I tend to view myself as owning jobs, compared to how others view me, which refer more to my character or how I make them feel. Think about that for a minute. How would you describe yourself, and how would others describe you? Which one are jobs you assume on occasion, and which ones make up your character? Which ones were you when you walked out of the house this morning? Which ones are you right now in this room? When we are seen by others, the better we understand who we are and how we have made an impact. These descriptors alone are unique and have agency, but when combined, I become better. Our thoughts become our words become our beliefs become our actions become our habits, and our habits become our character. Essentially, I am unique, but we are better together. This can be really hard to remember, especially in times such as these where society can seem so divisive. So, when I get this contemplative, I turn to literature to help me make a little more sense of things. And one parable that has resonated with me recently is The Blind Men and the Elephant. You might have heard it. This dates back to 500 BCE, and it's Buddhist, Hindu, and Jain writings, later adapted in the 19th century. And the first stanza goes something like this. It was 6 men of Indostan to learning much inclined, who went to see the elephant, though all of them were blind, that each by observation might satisfy his mind. The parable goes on to describe each of their unique encounters with the elephant, where the first man observed by touching the elephant's side and declared it to be like a wall. The second stroked the tusk and cried, "To me is mighty clear, is very like a spear." The third felt the trunk and described it to be a snake. The fourth touched the knee and equated it to a tree. The fifth patted the ear, thinking it was a fan. And the sixth groped the tail, declaring it was a rope. And so these men of Indostan disputed loud and long, each in his own opinion exceeding stiff and strong, though each was partly in the right and all were in the wrong. Sound familiar? The parable finishes by saying, "So oft in theologic wars the disputants, I ween, rail on in utter ignorance of what each other mean, and prate about an elephant not one of them has seen." I'm sure at one time or another, each of us has pushed our own distinct beliefs, actions, habits, and character on others, and have believed ourselves to be absolutely right, and that no other way forward exists. I'm sure I have. And I am, after all, only human. But many times, the problem with that continuous mantra is that divisiveness becomes the word of the day. Have you noticed in the past 18 months how hard it is at times to talk to your friends, family, neighbors about what's happening in our community or our country or even our world? Like these blind men in the parable, if we don't have all of the facts or assume that our voice is the only truth, we can all miss the point completely, stress relationships, and even stilt our thinking. So I'm not here to lecture you today or to tell you things you don't already know, but I feel the need to remind us all that while we are here saluting the wonderful achievements of these women, that we are at a crucial time in the history of the world, where we all need to realize how our individual and unique presence also has the power to come together to solve community and even global problems. I'll say it again. I am unique, but we are better together. Those that are being honored today and those of us that are supporting those honored today means that you care about your women tribe. And therefore, you care about your community in every way, shape, or form. I wish all of us were so lucky. In the past few weeks, after 20 years of the ability to be educated, to be seen as individuals, and start and own businesses, work in public office, and make their own worth, Women, by new Taliban rule in Afghanistan, are being forced to revert backwards to a time that some of them have never known or experienced. On September 19th of this year, just hours after they took over the city of Kabul, the Taliban told female government employees to stay home from work, allowing only those to work who cannot otherwise be replaced by men. Over 100,000 healthcare and university employees were told to just stay home. Prior to the U.S. entering the country in 2001, the Taliban banned almost all education for women and girls, imposing punishments including stoning, lashing, and many, many things worse. Confining women to their homes unless escorted by a male family member, and denying them access to most employment or even just a walk around the block. After 2001, up until a few weeks ago, these women finally felt that they had a voice. And during that time, the female literacy rate increased to 30% by 2018. The number of girls in school went from nearly 0 in 2001 to 2.5 million in 2018, making up nearly half all primary students. In the last 20 years, they were shown the importance of an education, understood their value, and that it was worth fighting for. So a few weeks ago, with their lives at risk yet again, more than a dozen Afghan women staged protests holding up signs for the participation of women in public life. Signs saying, "Freedom is our motto, it makes us proud. Elimination of women is an elimination of human beings." Can you imagine how dangerous this must be for them to make this kind of statement? Fear being tortured, their families killed, but perhaps the biggest fear is doing nothing. What they did was have the courage to look beyond what is in front of them and try to make positive change. But what lessons can this teach us? Well, statistically speaking, closing the gender gap in education adds 0.5% to the country's per capita gross national product. When women work, they invest 90% of their income back into their families, compared with 35% for men. Think about that. For every $1 a woman makes, 90 cents goes back to their families versus 35 cents made by a man. By focusing on girls and women, innovative businesses and organizations can spur economic progress, expand markets, and improve health and education outcomes for everyone. These women are putting their lives on the line and working together to keep the freedoms they know they deserve, and by the way, ones we already have. They got a taste of what could be. They are standing in the face of opposition, and they are doing it together. So I ask myself here at home, how do we become the change we want to see in this world? Here are 5 simple, yet perhaps hard for some, suggestions. Number 1, be open to new ways of thinking. Number 2, and this is a really hard one, listen. Listen hard. And if you have to tape your mouth shut to listen, do it. Number 3, be empathetic. Number 4, invite more diverse voices to the table. And number 5, look to creativity and the arts to be inspired. Case in point, while working on this speech the other night, my family and I were watching the Tony Awards and witnessed Kenny Leon, the director of A Soldier's Play, which won for Best Revival of a Play. And in his acceptance speech, repeated the names of Breonna Taylor and George Floyd 3 times. He went on to say that all lives are precious, and no diss to Shakespeare, no diss to Ibsen, to Chekhov or Shaw. They're all at the table, but the table has to be bigger. We need our young people to learn about all of our amazing writers, and in this land we are standing on tonight is Native American land. So we need to hear all of the stories, and when we hear all of the stories, we are better. This necessary work is no different in our own communities. Some of you may remember this, but before we broke ground on the River Museum's Mississippi River Discovery Center in 1999, We invited Jonathan Buffalo, the tribal historian of the Meskwaki Indians, to bless the land that new building behind me now stands on. We did this to ensure that we were paying homage to those who came before us, acknowledge these people are still right here with us, and to remind us that all Native American history is also our history. While many of us at the museum were not there when the building opened in 2003, we continue to work hard at carrying its legacy forward and telling the important and entire story, good, bad, or ugly. Everyone carries a part of society on their shoulders. No one is relieved of his shared responsibility by others, and no one can find a safe way out for themselves if society is sweeping toward destruction. Therefore, everyone in their own interests must thrust themselves vigorously into the intellectual battle. This quote by Ludwig von Mises, one of the great social thinkers of the 20th century, was sent to me by my father, who studied Ludwig and others like him while attending West Point Military Academy. For those of you who do not know anything about West Point Military Academy, it is rigorous, disciplined, and incredibly hard to complete. So much so that in my father's freshman class, 1,439 walked in the doors in 1969, and only 944 graduated in 1973. Even with the Vietnam War still raging at the time, this was and still not uncommon. He explained to me that how we got there and what we experienced was unlike any other college experience. That all of the incoming freshmen make up the top 1% of high school grads in the country. But that upon arrival, they tell you that you can forget about all that because we're going to break you down and build you back up. Because when you walk out of here, you're going to need to lead men and women as a unit on the battlefield. So they are hyper-focused as a unit. They take all of the same math classes 5 days a week, assemble and march to meals, wear the same uniforms, so that after their 4 years, when they move to their 5-year commitment in the military upon graduation, working collectively becomes automatic. So now every year, my father's graduating class of 1973 come together for a whole weekend of reminiscing, football, food, lots of drinks, and remembrance ceremony for members of his class who passed away the previous year. This happened to occur this past weekend in Washington, D.C., and my sister and I had the honor of being his guests. While we were there, we took some time to walk around our nation's capital, visit the Air and Space Museum, National Gallery, and while walking from museum to museum, we decided to stop for coffee, and while crossing the street, all of a sudden, we see a line of police cars blocking the street and start to see thousands of people marching in our direction. Now, in D.C., for those of you who know, this could mean a lot of things. So we sort of slinked off to the side, but stuck around because we were curious. And at first, we couldn't figure out what it was, but we quickly realized we were in the middle of the Women's March. What an awesome spectacle. Thousands of people from all walks of life marching for a women's right to choose. We'll talk about juxtaposition. So in that moment, I'm remembering why I was in D.C. to commemorate these West Pointers, but also realized I had another reason to be there, to support women. And in that moment, became very emotional at the reminder that democracy is still alive and well in our country, that people do care about each other, and our freedoms are worth fighting for. So after taking all that in, we went back to the West Point festivities, and the next day, while at the remembrance ceremony, listening to my father's classmates eulogize passionately about their brother-in-arms, all I could think was how lucky we all are to have the freedoms we have to march or protest or to just speak our minds, to bear witness to democracy in action, and to commemorate a group of individuals who gave their service and lives for our country. By the way, all sitting there at the auditorium the Military Women's Memorial at Arlington National Cemetery. Afterward, as my sister and I walked around the memorial, we couldn't help but be struck by how awe-inspiring it actually was. The gravestones of those who fought for us, Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, the Eternal Flame, and the positioning of the Women's Memorial, which directly faces the Lincoln Memorial. It's just really perfect. If you've never been, you need to go. So as we walked up and around the memorial, we noticed etched in glass quotes from women in service. One that particularly resonated with me by Senator Margaret Chase Smith, Lieutenant Colonel, U.S. Air Force Reserve. There will be demands upon your ability, upon your endurance, upon your disposition, upon your patience. Just as fire tempers iron into fine steel, so does adversity temper one's character into firmness, tolerance, and determination. We all have a lot of work to do to pay attention, to listen, and be better. In the past 18 months will go down in infamy as one of the hardest to bear in our lifetimes. But if history has taught us anything, there can be a calm after the storm. With great strife comes an awakening, an awareness, or some even might say a renaissance. But we have to get beyond ourselves in order to see it. These women being honored today are doing really amazing things for advancing environmental health and preparedness, leading our community in innovation, showing how giving back can create awareness for good causes, and advance our much-needed equity initiative. All of us have unique qualities that need to be seen, but we also need to be reminded of our privilege, opportunity, and responsibility to be kind, caring, compassionate, and know that while you may be a warrior, like I now know myself to be, I did not get here alone, and that regardless of the added pressures and labels we put on ourselves or the ones we're given, we all have the opportunity to show up honestly, with empathy, and work together towards a brighter future. Remember, I am unique, but we are better together. So if you cannot already tell that I like quoting amazing people, I'll leave you with one excerpt from one of my favorite childhood books. Why did you do all of this for me? The first friend asks. I don't deserve it. I've never done anything for you. You have been my friend, replied the second. That in and itself is a tremendous thing. I wove my webs for you because I liked you. After all, what's a life anyway? We were born, we live a little while, we die. By helping you, perhaps I was trying to lift up my life a trifle. Heaven knows, anyone's life can stand a little of that. Thank you very much.
Erin, thank you so much for those beautiful words. So many of them I think a lot of us needed to hear today, and I think resonates with a lot of us. Democracy is still alive. People still care, and we are better together. Thank you so much for that. Before we present this year's awards and our lovely award recipients, I want to make sure we give all of you an opportunity to see these beautiful awards. These have been created for us for the past 4 years by another local woman, Gail Chavanel, if Gail wants to give us a little wave. Gail is a beautiful local artist that specializes in metalwork, and she's customized these each for us every single year. So Gail, we thank you so much for these unique awards. So after a brief description of each of these awards, what we'll do is direct you to the video screen, where Paul Karutsides, our talented videographer, will be sharing a little bit about each of these women and their award recipients. Afterward, we'll invite those recipients to the stage to receive their awards and make a brief remark. So our first award will be our Woman to Watch. Our Women to Watch Award is presented to a woman in the early stages of her career who is stepping up to help shape the tri-state area of tomorrow. This year's recipient is Clara Lopez Ortiz.
She came to the foundation about 2 years ago, a young, first-time professional job. She proved to be committed to learning, high energy, innovative, and probably the most endearing thing about Clara is her kindness and her charisma and her caring about people.
Clara brings with her experiences from moving to this country, doing some undergrad work while in South Korea. She also studied in London, England for her graduate work. Her lived experiences of what it's like to be a minority in our community. And she shares that through storytelling and her personal experiences while also kind of drawing questions and commentary and conversation out of others and to bring them along in a very thoughtful way.
So Clara has had a tremendous impact on our region and our Dubuque community. She facilitates the Inclusive Dubuque Network, and she supports the facilitation of the Business Leader Equity Cohort here in Dubuque. She has launched a racial healing series that we did on Zoom in the rural areas during the pandemic, and that has now turned into an equity network that is alive and well and thriving. She's passionate about all people having a wonderful life where they have access to the resources they need. She has personal experiences that she brings to the table that just makes her so effective.
As a woman to watch, Clara came into her role without a lot of direction as to what that function could be, and I've already seen her take ownership for it. So she's already, as I mentioned, helped our own staff get better. She's helping educate our community. And I think it's going to reach much broader than that. In fact, she's already shared that now that people know who she is and what she knows and who she knows, they're starting to connect back with her. I think she'll have a bigger impact, certainly in our small community in our office, but in the broader Dubuque community, and then eventually nationally as we get her more involved with other organizations.
Congratulations, Clara Lopez Ortiz. Come up and get your award.
Woman to watch should have brought higher heels today. Oh, okay, I'm just gonna hold it if that's okay. Okay. Wow, thank you so much. I am beyond delighted. I never thought that the little 6-year-old who boarded a plane to the U.S. would be standing before you here today. I first want to start off by thanking my parents. Muchas gracias, mamá y papá, por todo lo que me han dado, sus esfuerzos y sus sacrificios. Los quiero mucho. Sorry. And then I also want to thank the Community Foundation of Greater Dubuque for giving me the opportunity to grow both as a professional and as an individual. I have such great leaders there, Paul Duster and Nancy Van Milligan, and of course, amazing co-workers who are always there to support me and to make me laugh all the time. Most importantly, I am able to do what I love at the Community Foundation, which is to help others. And to echo in what Aaron said, let's all work together to advance equity here in Dubuque, so all feel welcomed and included. Thank you.
Well, it's a misty morning. Thank you so much, Clara. Our next award recipient is our Woman Who Makes a Difference. The Woman Who Makes a Difference award goes to someone who exemplifies strong leadership, serves as a mentor, and makes her workplace and community better. This year's Woman Who Makes a Difference is Judy Faulhaber.
Judy is extremely hardworking, but she loves to have fun. She is gracious, generous, humble, kind.
You know, she's bought into Big Apple 21 years ago. She's been through, the financial crisis of 2007 and 2008, and the pandemic has been hard, and she still manages to keep it running. And she's always using everything at Big Apple to help to give back to the community.
There's a reason so many people say, Judy from Big Apple Bagel. That is because both personally and professionally, Judy has given herself to the community. She has always amazed me in her abilities to juggle her home and work, but also give so much time to organizations like Resources Unite, St. Mark's Food Bank, the Red Cross, Breast Cancer Awareness, and the 2x2 Foundation.
She has empowered hundreds of employees over her 21 years. A lot of them are high school kids. They go to college, they graduate, they come back, and she's had an impact on all that.
Judy is driven by love and compassion. She has a deep sense of gratitude in life no matter what curveballs are thrown at her. In the height of COVID, when we were all locked down and staying safe, Judy continued to show up on Sundays to help distribute free food for St. Mark's Food Bank.
As for the future, I think if you asked Judy, she'd like to be retired. We all would. Truthfully, Judy will keep impacting the Dubuque community. I've worked with her on different events with Steve Geist, Josh Jasper, Kirsten Woodward. And when you watch her work with them, whether it's now or projects in the future, she just thrives and just keeps helping Dubuque grow and helping anyone that she possibly can.
Congratulations, Judy.
Well, thank you very much for this award. My husband and I bought Big Apple Bagels 21 years ago, and it was the best investment we ever made, a very scary investment. I am as good as the people that surround me. I have the best family and friends, and I really just try to be the best business owner I can be, the best person that I can be, and I'm very, very thankful for this award. I love my Big Apple family. I am so blessed in so many ways, and I'm just really accepting this award tonight in honor of my husband, Jeff Faulhaber. He was my partner, so I really appreciate it.
Thank you, Judy, and our deepest condolences on your loss. Our Woman of Innovation. We present the Woman of Innovation Award to a female business owner or entrepreneur who strives for innovation and who has a positive impact on her community and her clients. This year's Woman of Innovation is Kelly Breitbach.
First thing I think about when I think of Kelly, she's a leader, right? No matter what she's doing, she's the first one to step up and volunteer and say, hey, how can I help? She's a helper, she's a doer, she's the kind of person that you not only trust with the keys to your house or the keys to your car, you'd probably hand her over the code to your bank account too, because she's trustworthy, loyal, she's a great friend. You can always count on her to lend an ear, to give you good advice. She's just all around a wonderful person to be around.
Kelly's impact on the community has been larger than probably what she even recognizes. There have been organizations that have reached out to her that have asked her to help as far as the innovation side of things. But in addition to that, she's reached out and has worked with different high schools throughout the community to get people interested in production, to get people interested in innovation. And so she's been a fantastic advocate when it comes to innovation, both as a whole and for AY McDonald as a company. I think results is what drives Kelly. She wants to see a project from the beginning to the end. She really enjoys having a challenge and put in front of her. You know, innovation is all about what's new and what's different. People are often afraid of what's different. That's not the case with Kelly. She really grasps onto the challenge of getting the results of something that is a little bit different.
Kelly joined our company 5 years ago, and in that short time, she has made an amazing impact on our organization. Not only is she the glue that holds together our innovation department, but she has helped us out with our strategic planning. She has helped us in lots of ways to help our company think differently. And that is a skill and a trait that we absolutely cherish. Kelly has an absolutely fabulous future at AY McDonald.
Kelly.
Wow, this is really amazing. That's pretty cool. So at AY, we're a lively, lighthearted group, so we really bust each other's chops a lot. So it's hard to hear some of those very sweet, sappy comments. Doug and Scott, thank you for saying that right before I have to come up here. But I do appreciate it. First off, I want to thank Bob Woodward. I don't know where he went. He's somewhere in here. For nominating me. Bob and I had spent some time collaborating around the innovation process and shared what we had learned over the years. And then I did a little bit of work with his team, which was really fun and rewarding. Through AY, I've been lucky over the last couple years to get the chance to work with Loris and Hempstead and Roosevelt, and I try to say yes to those opportunities whenever possible. I'm very passionate about innovation, so it's something I like to talk about. And I love talking to younger kids about what their job could look like in innovation. I started my career in customer service and product management, but innovation just seems to be the right fit for me. It's hard to believe that I've been in innovation for 15 years. That makes me feel kind of old. And it's changed a lot over those 15 years. It used to be seen as a luxury. It was hard to even envision what a job in innovation looked like. But now it's more of a strategic focus for any company in any industry in order to stay competitive. So I think it's a very exciting industry for young people to go into. 5 years ago, I was living in Dubuque, working for a company out of Chicago. I was traveling a lot. I had little kids, so I was on the road to burnout when my brother Scott gave me a call, who was working at AY, and said they were opening an innovation center. I knew that I had to get that job. That was really a turning point for me. It sounds like it was just a job, but for me it really felt like coming back home. So I'm very grateful that that worked out. I couldn't be happier to work somewhere where people actually care about each other. We just seem to work well together to get big things accomplished. And it's always more rewarding to accomplish something next to your friends. So I want to thank my AY friends for showing up for me today. It means a lot to me. I know that this award is for one person, but I'm not foolish enough to think for 1 second that that's how that works. So I know that we're all like doing this innovation thing together, and I'm grateful for everyone's contributions. To my family, I really couldn't be more lucky. I'm just surrounded by so much love and support. My parents, my mom, Diane, my dad, Steve, my stepmom, Diana, and my stepdad, Glenn, have been so supportive my whole entire life, and I have made that very difficult at times. So you are a very resilient bunch over there. My boyfriend, Brian, who is always giving me these very funny but very effective pep talks before any of these type of things. So I appreciate that more than you know. And then my 3 amazing kids, Carly, Emma, and Jack. Nothing I do in my life will be as important as being your mom. You are the biggest driver of my success. I will always continue to try to learn, grow, and be better to set a good example for you. Thank you.
So I swear, after one of these, I'm not going to be crying. Oh my goodness. What a beautiful group of women. That brings us to our final award this morning, our Woman of the Year. The Woman of the Year award is reserved for the woman who has distinguished herself in the community. She represents the best of who we are as women and as leaders. This year's Woman of the Year is Mary Rose Corrigan.
Mary Rose's character, she's really one of those iconic women leaders that the rest of us live up to. She's strong and determined, she's persistent, she knows what she wants, how to get it, and she works very hard to achieve it.
On the week of St. Patrick's Day in 2020, when the World Health Organization announced that there was a global pandemic, I don't think anyone imagined, at least of all Mary Rose Corrigan, that she would become the face of the pandemic in our community. Mary Rose Corrigan provided what is considered to be the most essential element of crisis management. Mary Rose Corrigan was the clear communicator, the clear and trustworthy communicator to all of us. And it wasn't just occasionally, it was every day. That is her impact. But also, I have to add, the Crescent Community Health Center and the Childhood Lead Poisoning Prevention Program. So Mary Rose isn't new to being a strong and intelligent woman in the community. It's been her life.
She takes great pride in the Dubuque community and really is committed and passionate about making this a healthier and just more lively and vibrant place to live and work and play.
Well, you know, 2 things have happened now with Mary Rose during this pandemic year. Mary Rose is receiving this prestigious award. Mary Rose also had a hole-in-one this year. So I expect in the future she's going to continue to golf with her husband Gus and her 2 sons, and she'll continue to contribute to the communities in ways we haven't yet imagined.
She's going to continue to advocate, she's going to continue to inform and participate in ways, continuing to volunteer, participate at the college and university level to help push forward the initiatives for students who are going into public health, and who knows, maybe even becoming an elected official.
Rose.
Thank you, Megan, and I do look forward to her magazine every month. But this is such a wonderful occasion, and I'm so proud to join the Salute to Women class of 2021, and also the previous Salute to Women awardees, the 2020 trifecta Queens of Peace Women of 2020, Deska Williams, Gwendolyn Fountain, and Monique McCauley, and several of my fellow City of Dubuque employees, Kelly Larson and Nicole Salazar. And I admire you all so much. And Amy Gilligan, I feel like we've grown up together in our careers, becoming more fearless and wise over time, and each of us staying with the same employer, something almost unheard of today, to spend an entire career in one place. I think there's a joke in there, but I'll let you come up with that because you're good at that. Since the beginning of 2020, my career and life have changed significantly. Although the trend of dealing with new and emerging infectious diseases has been ongoing during my 36-year career in public health, nothing has compared to the COVID-19 pandemic. And even though my public health colleagues and I, especially those here today, have been doing the response to public health issues and emergencies for years, this pandemic has affected us all tremendously. And I'm sure that those of you not in public health or healthcare would agree that we've all been changed by the pandemic, and the effects have been profound and will be long-lasting. Receiving this award is humbling and made me reflect on my personal values that continue to guide me. These values include family, professionalism, relationships, and of course, health and wellness. As my book club friends occasionally remind me of the agony I put them through when I selected Michael Pollan's book, The Omnivore's Dilemma, it's clear that separating personal and professional values isn't always possible. And I did request oatmeal today, but we didn't quite get there. These values have guided me to be a lifelong learner, strive for high quality, and be the best I can be in my work while continually reaching out to others and responding their calls to develop formal and informal partnerships, professional relationships, friendships, and most of all, trust. These relationships are what drive me to do the work that needs to be done, including addressing community health needs. Where would I or the community be without all these relationships? We wouldn't have the guidance of the Dubuque County Public Health Incident Management Team, sitting over there, with collectively over 148 years of experience planning and responding to public health emergencies. Without relationships, the Crescent Community Health Center most likely would not exist, nor would we have ongoing processes for assessing and addressing Dubuque's community health needs, such as responding to childhood lead poisoning or shaping our local, state, and federal health and public health policies. It's all about relationships. It reminds me of George Bailey in It's a Wonderful Life. Just think if even one of us had never been born, how different things would be. My other guiding value of family cannot be separated from work. During this pandemic, and quite frankly, throughout my whole career, I've leaned heavily on my sons, Nick and Louie, my husband Gus, and my sisters Peggy and Colleen. Along with this family includes my City Health Services Department, city staff, and the best public information officer anyone could have, Randy Gale. All gave me honest feedback and great ideas for news releases, public messaging, and yes, even Facebook videos. They were my eyes and ears on the ground and in social media. When City Councilwoman Laura Roussel and a few other friends told me they saw my Halloween COVID-19 video, Facebook video on Last Week Tonight with John Oliver, I quickly texted my sister, Peggy, and said, "What's Last Week Last Night with John Oliver?" She promptly replied, "Holy, this is big." I guess community states of emergency cause people to pull out all the stops to help the situation, including dressing like a witch for a Halloween-themed COVID Facebook video. But seriously, the value of family goes far beyond my own. Family is intertwined with everyone's backgrounds, beliefs, cultures, and actions. And it's essential to bring all those family dynamics, cultural influences, and one's life experiences into our planning and response to emergencies, but more importantly, into our businesses, work sites, and community as a whole. Many times our efforts go unnoticed, primarily because of the nature of our work or other factors. nothing noticeable happens, or we prevent it from happening. I'm sure many of you have felt that way about the things you've done in your job, an organization you're involved with, or with friends or family. But a professional understands that doesn't mean our efforts and actions are wasted or not important. Prevention and thinking ahead, being prepared, and not waiting too long to make a decision make us and our businesses and families more resilient. Finally, we're here today to celebrate women and our successes. But let's not forget the immense suffering, illness, and death that have occurred due to COVID-19. The pandemic has been a tragically long nightmare, but we can't forget life keeps happening, no matter what the situation. We still have birthdays, graduations, weddings, promotions, anniversaries, funerals, injuries and other illnesses, and various celebrations, now often without loved ones, all happening while we're trying to make decisions and set policies that will keep our community safe, healthy, and viable. It's tough, but we must continue to help each other to forge ahead. Which brings me to my final point, and this is all heavy and serious stuff. And a few months ago, I realized, with some guidance and huge hints from friends and family, that I needed to lighten up, Mary Rose. Not everything you're doing is that serious or on a deadline or matters to others. Remember to put your life and your actions in perspective. Just chill occasionally. Take time to have a real conversation with others. Let them know you care about them. Do a random act of kindness. Give a gift for no reason. Have a few beers or a coffee talk with friends. Better yet, make new friends. Thank you to the TH Media and all of you for this wonderful award.
Let's have another big round of applause for each of our award recipients today. Some beautiful women, beautiful words of wisdom, and beautiful contributions each are making to the community. Before we depart today, I want to take one more opportunity to thank our sponsors, TriTech and DuTrack Community Credit Union. I also want to thank Lori Ball and her staff at the Diamond Joe for the wonderful breakfast this morning. Let's give them a big round of applause. And another shout out to Paul Karutsides and his staff back there who handled our wonderful video production today. Lastly, I want to thank each of you again for being here today. It truly does make all of us better if we're together. Thank you and have a great day.